Good morning, maayong adlaw. It's Wednesday again, November 23, 2022. Last Sunday, nagsugod kita sa Job. Nakita nato ang lahi gayud nga pag-ila sa Ginoo, different perspective of God. Uh, Mao kini ang perspective nga dili kay nato tanawon ug tinuod gamay lang kayo ang magtudlo sa storya ni Job. Ug klaro kayo nga sama sa Genesis in the beginning, God was revealing Himself kinsa siya. O dito sa Genesis, He is powerful. He is a God who is relational. He is a God who pinagi lang siyang pulong mga buhat ang tanan. And then He's a God who's mysterious because there seems to be three persons in one Godhead. Kaya nga man siya, let us make man. Ug mao na yang pagpaila. Ug dinhi pod sa Job ato makita nga ang iyang pagpaila sa iyang kagulingon. Ang Ginoo doesn't have to explain Himself. He just presents who He is. And He is really God. Nakita nato nga na-access si Satan. Nagpatrolya ako noon sa kalibutan. Moingon sa translation, yung Living Translation. And he was asked by God. And he had access dito sa gingharian sa Ginoo, sa trono sa Ginoo. O mao itong nagsusuroy daw siya. O in fact, gidalit pa si Ginoo ang iyang alagad nga mao si Job. Kita nimo na siya. Gato makita dito nga gi-permit, gitagaag permiso sa Ginoo si Satanas sa pagdaot ka nga Job. Tara niya mga kabtangan. Tong iya mga kahayupan, iya mga ulipon, ug bisan man ang iya mga anak, di ba? They were considered as his possession. Ug nangawala tanan to sila except magdili siya patyon. Ug interesting ka na sa atong naandan nga theology. O pag ilas Ginoo, murag dili man makaalaw ang Ginoo sa inana nga butang tana sa evil. But here in Job it's very clear, klaro kaayo ni. Og isa sa pinakadako gyud nga butang dinhi is wala gayud nasayod si Job that there seems to be this pagdalit, di ba? Ang Ginoo man ang Ginoo, you have seen my servant Job. He was the one presenting Job dito kang Satan. And then our minds are blown. Diba? Why would he do that? Going back again sa Genesis, sama ka na sa Genesis, atong pangutan na, gibutangan pa man niya og the tree of knowledge and good and evil. And of course, our finite minds, okay, because we try to rationalize, and I believe there is a greater explanation to that, we just don't know, but what we know lang, it's because God is relational, and in a relationship, it's good. He gave this gift of choice to choose. Diba? Ang pagpili sa paghigugma. Sa Ginoo gina, pagpili sa paghigugma, sa pagpili sa pag-pursue, sa pagpasaylo, sa pagkaluoy sa atua. And that's relationship. There's a choice. Sumotong ibutang ang tree of knowledge of good and evil. And what he wanted was man will choose him. But of course, man chose himself. He wanted to be like God. Di na unta to kinahanglan to be like God. Kay like God naman siya. He is the imago Dei. The very expression of who God is. God is a spirit. He expressed Himself through man when He formed man by His own hand. And of course, ato nakita na nga, that was preparing the background for God divine who will become human one of these days. Munang expression naman sa Ginoo ang tao. Hindi na kinahanglan, He was like God, in the image of God. Hindi na kinahanglan to be like God. But of course, naminaw siya kay Satanas. Evil was even permitted at that time. And nakita nato nga contemporary ng story ni Job o kining mga story sa Genesis, the patriarchs. So magkasabay sila sa panahon. And then our minds are blown. Why would he do that? Because of choice, because of relationship. And even here in Job, mao gihapon, why ngano idalit man niya ang si Job, ang iyang alagad? But of course, we know that in the grander scale, what we could also understand, when Christ said that the scriptures speaks about Him, that includes the book of Genesis, that includes the prophets, and now even the story of Job. The story of Job was a story of the Messiah. Why? Because we see here God permitting evil, permitting harm on His servant. And that's why Job was picturing Christ in the Old Testament, really. Okay, the suffering Messiah. The Messiah, when He comes, He will not have a life that is very relaxed or comfortable. He is described in Isaiah as the suffering servant. Tinuod yun. And Job prepares the background for that. That God Himself permits and allows evil. Job did not die, but the servant Jesus, the Messiah, he really died. Itugot yun nga mamatay siya. So, ang story ni Job was just a preparation for the story of the Messiah. Tinuod yun. Mamaingon ni Jesus. The Bible is about Him. Ug mao na din niya ato makita na anggulo kabayan sa Ginoo. The permission of evil, pagkadaot no tong na daot, nawala tanan ang mga katigayunan ni Job. Bisan pa man yung anak ug natong isgutan last Sunday nga pinakasakit na kay moingon ta ko magsakit atong mga anak, moingon gid ta perminti ginikanan mas maayo ako na lang. But at this point namatay gayud ang iyang mga anak. So moingon siya nga may pag ako na lang to. That was very painful. And in fact, na ay patriarchal or priestly duty si Job kay nagi pagka-Jesus ang istorya kay maghalad man siya para sa iyang mga anak kay base nakasala sila sa Ginoo. Patriarchal priestly duties. So, mauna, pero at the bigger context, it was a backdrop for the Messiah. But of course, our finite minds are trying to understand why God would allow that one. That's why the second thing is not only that Job is a story of the preparation for the coming of the Messiah, the permission of God of evil sa iyang servant, but it also shows us this butang bitaw about the mystery of life. Dagan mga butang nga di nato matubag. When something happens, we always analyze the situation. We would always say, you do not try harder, you do not pray harder, you did not do this. And then others would say, it was Satan who permitted it. It was Satan who did it. Itrabaho gini sa panuway. But then we all could only assume. Perminti lang tayo mag-assume. Dili kita makaingon nga mao gid na siya perminti. That's why the better part, and I think Job is telling us here, kasi si Job wala magid sa kabalo nga na ay contest sa langit na ay pagdalit kaniya ngadto sa kag Satanas. Wala magid sa kabalo and he doesn't have to know. And then wala man po gi-explain sa Ginoo, gi-explain even when God answered him later on in the book. God did not tell Job why I did it. Of course karon tuwa naman si Job sa presensya sa Ginoo, kay anak mo siya, matarong siya. Nasayod na siya. Pero at that time he was alive, he did not know and God was not obliged to explain to him. And busagali na ay pagtuo. The mysteries of our life, the things that we do not know. That's why what fills the gap of that mystery, the things that we don't know, is faith, ang pagtuo. Mao na kitang tao, ang isagin sa ato pamaagi nga mag-relate sa Ginoo is through faith. There are a lot of things we do not know. Even Job did not know what was happening, why it was happening to him. But that's the part of faith, pagtuo. Even sa ato, it's a great lesson that whatever happens to our life, whether in success or failure, we always have faith in the Lord. We see that it is Him permitting this, doing this, and that's why there's faith nga pagtuo gihatag sa ato. That's why pagtuo is a gift. Because one of these days, faith will also be no more. When we are going to be with Him in His presence forever, faith will be no more. So karon samtang buhi pa kita, daghan mga panghitabo sa kinabuhi, we could only just surmise and assume why these are happening. But salamat kay mga anak na sa Ginoo, gitagaan ta niyang pagtuo. We could just trust in Him. What do we trust in Him? Of course, His goodness ang iyang kamaayo. Pusagali, nilang ang iyang goodness, pero ang iyang kaalam sa tanan aning butang. Kita, we are prone to really complain of what's really happening to us. Especially when suffering comes, when trials comes, we will always find the blame. Asa ni nga blame, kinsa ni nga tulubagon. And we will put it there and blame tanan. And of course, that's the reaction to the Garden of Eden, di ba? Instead of admitting ang ilang failures, they tried to blame one another. Ug mo na itong default mode system sa atong kasing-kasing, sa atong unahuna. Pero limtan nato ning pagtuo nga magsalig ta sa kamayo sa Ginoo. And that's why this is the first part sa story ni Job, maayo ang dagan sa storya because he really trusted in the Lord. In fact, he worshiped God in the midst of his suffering. In the midst of his loss of everything, including his children, he was still able to worship God. We always think worship is just only in the four corners of the church, when we sing, when we listen, and then we give and go home and we say we have already worshiped. But no, worship is a lot of dimension even in suffering. When we say, Lord, I trust in you, I do not know why this is happening. I have a tendency to rationalize and ask why, and I needed to know why. Just let me know why. But the point is, even if we don't do, even if we're told the why, would it matter? And I heard one preacher said, even if we're told the whys it is happening, our minds will be blown. Di ba? Dili kaya sa atong utok pagsabot nga namo din iyang tumong. That's why we only see ourselves in our sufferings, but we do not see the bigger picture of it all. That's why the best thing to do is trust the Lord in His goodness and in His wisdom. So just two things today. Okay? We see who God is. In the story of Job, it is a preparation for the Messiah. The permission of evil, the suffering servant. And God permits it. In Job, he did not die, but when Christ came, he was the suffering servant. As Isaiah said, he really died. God permitted it. And thus we understand. Grabe kayo nga, ang bayad giday sa atong mga sala, ang kamatayon mismo sa alagad sa Ginoo. And of course, we see faith. We trust in the goodness of God and in His wisdom of whatever is happening to our lives. Many times we assume, why is it happening? But we really do not know. Dili kita kabalo. Ang Ginoo ra gid may nasayod. That's why we could trust in Him, in His goodness and His wisdom. Hope everybody is doing fine this week.